Hello, everyone. This is Sumit. I'm nothing but a TypeScript enthusiast. How I get to know interest about this is mostly I'm interested into how the data is getting flown from customer side to each of the platform, and that's where I started gaining interest into how JavaScript and TypeScript in the front end ecosystem is working so far. And over there I find one vital anomaly which is booming a business market, which is state management. And over there, recently, Tanstack have made sure that it is generalized to each and every ecosystem, which is Tanstack Query. Uh, and this was the older name of it, React Query. They have initiated with the inspiration of React, and now it is available to each and every environment. Uh, who am I? I'm Sumit Ramteke. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Teams for sure, people. Apart from that, what I do, I work with as a subject matter expert in the TypeScript ecosystem for my client, and also I am being a speaker in Singapore for various events. This is for the first time for the TechSnack. I am being as a speaker. So if you have any comments and queries, feel free to drop messages on the comments. I will try to address as much as I can during this session. But after this session, if I want, I will address them after the session as well. So put as much questions as you want over there, and I will try to address them. Apart from that, I have couple of queries which most of the audience have keep asking me. So I will try to give them over there. If those are not being addressed, then for sure I will try to cover up as much as I can. So here we go. So yeah, what is React Query? What is Tanstack Query? Most of them is basically using state management. Mostly in the React ecosystem, also they are using the React hooks. But as the time goes, they wanted to have an extensive solution which is not solving the existing problem, and the customer, our client, is demanding at the very last moment that, hey, why this is not working, why it is taking so much of time, don't you have any boilerplate solution altogether in first place? What was wrong with Redux? Why did you replace with the new hooks? These many things are there. So then just like us, the tanner guy found out that we need to come up with a very efficient solution which can not just address to all the startup companies but also the enterprise companies, and and can address the uh, larger audience on an ecosystem point of view, and shouldn't be fixed to any particular uh, language. It should be generalized as a framework to all the ecosystem. So what he says that toss out the granular state management, manual refetching, endless bowls of async spaghetti code. That is what we are getting rid of by introducing React Query. So so then what it brings basically, if you see, it brings powerful async state management. Means everybody is providing it, but there is a very complex handling over there, which I will explain you in a moment, where you have to there is an interdependency between different data. So in such cases, how we can still make sure of async state management? And we are still not talking about server side renderings and other stuff. So in such cases it becomes very complex. Now, when taking care of it, yeah, for the backend there are many systems which takes care of the caching mechanism. But what about if we are introducing a state management altogether in the front end, client side, or even the server side? How we can take care of that caching mechanism? That's where React Query bring this as again the same part of a solution. Now, when we are doing async state management, we also have to take care of the background data management. Basically, many of them are doing data polling. Let's say, hey, there is an update in the request or not. Not every time, server side request we are taking care of it. At least not entirely in current industry. So it is still, on a hybrid level we are taking care of this polling request. So in such cases, this background data update makes more sense. Now we have we have a lot of data collected in our caching. How we take care of clearing those information? Is our current ecosystem smart enough to clear those information? No. Or it is, then we have to create something from the scratch, or we need to rely on a separate tool which will take care of it. What React Query tells us is, we will give you garbage collection altogether with the same tool, and you can do more tweaks into it for more complex solution. That is where they are giving the flexibility. Now, while doing all this ecosystem, what happen is the library becomes more complex. Like, the very important reason why everybody started looking out for then alternative to Redux was more, I mean, let's say Mobex also, and now let's say React Query. In all the ecosystem, what it was happening, that Redux was getting more complex to use. Not everybody was using the tool very efficiently, very smartly, and the documentation, following those documentation was getting cumbersome every now and then. So what Tanner makes sure of it at the very beginning, that he sit with a React team and he understand how they take care of the documentation, and in the similar fashion he takes care of it. He also sat with React router team, while recently there was a different library where they introduced Tanstack router. In that case as well, he tried to make sure he is getting as much inspiration from all these tools. And then after, while taking care of documentation, he also takes care of the design and takes care of the implementation. So he's going other way around, and that's how he's making sure that there is an ease of use to this library. All right, now we have taken care of all the existing problems, but there is a very important ecosystem which almost everybody on a partial level is addressing for a big data, which is GraphQL. Now in the GraphQL, uh, there is a very extensive support required. Do we need to introduce a new tool for it? No. What React Query, what Tanstack Query is saying to you, that we will give you the same sort of support with different sort of tweaks, and you can still support the same data with the same indexing in the GraphQL. So all this in a bundle, you have a very powerful state management ecosystem into your state. Even if you are in a very early stage where you don't want to invest much of a time and you just have to hook it, you just have to do couple of tweaks and it should be there. And then slowly, when the time comes, when the complexity is getting increased, you are adding those flexibility, those options, those feature, and your delivery will be still faster. You don't have to worry too much about it. All right, so I will give you a quick walkthrough. So if you see, how do you import Tanstack is doing only this, where you need to you will need a provider from where you are putting your query and the client. That's it. So what you do is, you will do first initiating the instance of the query client. Then inside the provider, you will add that instance, and whichever component you are working upon, it will go inside of it. Now, now how you are fetching the data, it is similar to what you have been doing so far, nothing much different. I mean, if you are using Axios, if you are using something else, if you have your own custom thingy, which we at least uh, from where I'm working on, they are using their own fetching mechanism, cause a little security wise different complexity has been increased. So in such cases a normal fetch won't work. That's where you just have to provide whichever functionality you have in the query function. And then uh, the indexing part, now this is very very important. how query how React query, how Tanstack query is taking care of the garbage collection, how is taking care of the caching mechanism, how is taking care of the background data update, all these thing depends on upon this indexing. So this is where you can go as granular as possible. um, a side note, whoever is already aware of how React query works, is this is v5. Not everybody is aware of how v5 works, but just to let you know that over there in earlier cases you used to have argument specific options, and then you used to provide these same parameters. But now they, after making the whole library pure TypeScript, they make sure that it is well generalized. And in such cases, this is how the options has to be provided. uh, it's just a side note, people should be aware of it. Okay. Now what are you expecting out of it? You are expecting typical cases. If it is pending, is there any error, uh, the obvious data what you are getting. And then the these two are very important, but most of the time, at least in the early stages, if you are implementing this, is fetching. Like if it is about to fetch and if you want to take care of it, so yeah, there, that's where it is very important. All right. So so uh, uh okay, now you pull those information, what you do about it is up to you. How you are consuming those information, I just if you see in the pending, I'm just saying that it is loading. And then if there is an error, I'm just showing that. And if you want to show a typical information, we are just showing it. And when it is fetching, you are just saying whatever computation you want to take care of. Now look and feel wise, it will be still the same, right? So there is more to it. I will explain in the coming slide. But feel free to post any questions so far. Okay. So as I said, all you have to do is importing the client, the provider, and the main query where you will be fetching those information. How to implement it is you have to initiate the instance. The same instance has to be provided in the provider, and then wherever the fetching information has to be utilized, it will be wrapped inside it. All right, I will move to next. This you have seen already. Okay. Now this have already explained, but I will repeat it. If you see that in v4, there was a generic issue where multiple argument, once you start typing, there were two to three multiple computation you have to address. So that was mostly because of the generic handling they had in till till previous to 4.5, and now they have resolved. TypeScript themselves have resolved, and one of the contributor was as well the Tanner team actually. Now after that, uh, they were, just because of this method overloading issue, because of this TypeScript, the generic issue, 80% of the code in their code base were mostly regarding the handling. If it is coming in this way, how to handle it. If it is coming in this way, how to handle it. Now they what they do is they make sure that it is well generalized for a long term solution. And that's where they reduced a lot of code. And if somebody plan to go to v5 at this moment, make sure there is a migration tool separate for that. If somebody wants, I can share it in the comment or back again in the YouTube. There are different ways of migrating from the previous version to the next, from the to the upcoming version. Make sure you are aware of these things. Callbacks were messy, and yeah, so in v4, those were days where people were migrating, most of them from Redux to React Query. That's where things were getting more and more challenging. And they addressed it that yes, a back level support is still required. Not every customer is still ready to entirely shift from Redux to this, because 50 to 60% of things are still working very well, no complaints over there. Wherever the complaints are arising, only in such cases people are introducing React Query. So in such cases, is it safer at this moment to chime in a new tool into a functionality where everything is working very well tested? People will avoid it. Developers will avoid it. Even the business stakeholder won't be agreeing to such situations. So in such cases, it is always better to have a support of migration. And that's where they have make sure v5 is very flexible for that. Now yeah, now there are different hooks after React 18 release. And then among them, there was a very powerful tool. Everybody knows about the suspense. We have a special suspense hook dedicated for these kind of functionalities. Just to quote, it is React only supported. For others, there are still investigation happening. Core Angular team is sitting close to Tanner team, and they are making sure that such kind of things are very helpful over there. Now the second point is shared mutation. Shared mutation, what they do is, now let's say there is a uh, employee uh, birth date updating. At the same time, there is a manager information already being visible in the same page. Now these two information can be work hand in hand. So when both of the information is about to fetch, and we wanted to make sure that if in both the places, the reporting person of this employee has to be reflected in the other place as well, on his reporting point of view, then there should be a shared information in this mutation. Earlier till v4 it was not possible, and because of that, not everybody was ready to migrate entirely to Tanstack. That was a very important problem which they have addressed. Yes. Now, the code mod support, what it does. So it's a very popular tool in open source community. What code mod does is, okay, currently, because of some XYZ algorithm, because of this current existing TypeScript version, I am doing XY, some sort of implementation. Now, recently, I learned that there is a newer way of approaching any code. Let me update this much code snippet to this, to the newer part. Now what happens is, while taking care of it, oh, this is not the only one place where I'm handling in such a way. There are, let's say, 20 more places where I need to take care of it. Does it make sense to keep updating in each every places? uh, okay, now today I did that manually, no problem. But consider that every now and then in upcoming 1 or 2 week you are taking care of this, cause of the code is little older, and now you have realized that there is more newer way of approaching the code snippet, that's where code mod comes into the picture. It takes care of a one line command that you will tell that upgrade whatever kind of code snippet to the newer version. Now, now uh, how Tanstack is showcasing code mod is they have make sure that from V4 to V5, and not just React, the query mechanism, but to all of the ecosystem inside a tan stack, they have updated everything with the help of code mod. So basically, if a smaller fraction of snippet you have to update, migrate to a newer version, you just have to run the code mod and it should be there. uh, that's where I told you that if you want to migrate from a older version of React query to the latest one, there is a migration tool. How they build it, they utilize this code mode itself, so it's really cool. And if somebody wants, I can share the way how the code mod could work. Maybe in upcoming session also I can have an extensive explanation about it. Now we can jump to the very selling part of Tanstack, which is their own puppet, which is React Query Dev Tool. Now the same demo, if you see, there is this logo of Tanstack. What it does? Uh, so if you see here, that it is already having a sort of gist that beneath the application how the information is getting stored. So as we spoke about that repo data is already fetched as an index over here. All right, okay, what we do about it is, so let's say you wanted to test couple of things like trigger loading, right? In such case, is pending has to be true in such cases, right? So we do like this and it will remain the state like the same, and you can test how your pending state will look like. All right, now in the similar fashion, if you want, you can do the trigger of the error, you can invalidate it, you can do the refetch. So these things you can do. And again, the pretty obvious things which every editor provide is the support of key value updating. That also you can do and do the refetching. So all this you can take care of it. And the mutation part, I mean, uh, at this moment I didn't add much of the way how the mutation has to work, but there are different options where you can take care of it. Again, you can also provide, if there is no internet, how your data will look like. These kind of testing is also there, and of course the platform level of testing. So these are like very important perks you get in the Tanstack ecosystem. And feel free to utilize it. You don't have to install anything special out of it. You don't have to go to another library and take care of it. All right, uh, who are using at this moment? Vercel uh, and AG Grid. Everybody knows these are uh, very beneficial environment ecosystem and companies which are pure technical, pure TypeScript driven, uh, containerized companies, and well funded. They are sitting with companies like Tanstack and making sure that it is very beneficial to the open world ecosystem. So make sure that you have that. Now, uh, if you can see that as per today's uh, reporting, more than 42,000 have marked it stars, and close to 3,000 folks have already been created who is sponsoring. Like I have already told you that it is supporting GraphQL. How they made sure of it, the Tanstack is supporting it. They sat with Neo4j team and make sure that it is working very well. How they introduce the dev tool, that's where the Datadog team, which is this logo, if not everybody knows, Datadog team sat with Tanstack and made sure that there was this kind of input, and their team also sat with them and make sure this development tool is not just any layman tool, but it is very important. So yeah, it is very popular, and if none of you are already using it, is a very high time you should be start using it. By the time GraphQL will start picking up 100% of the market, it will be beneficial for us. We should be aware of such kind of tools. So yeah, thank you from my side. This was a gist of how React Query the Tanstack Query works. Uh, and feel free to drop some questions, and I will try to address it. That's correct. So by the time you start learning more about it, there are many ways. Uh, the the documentation itself is recommending you different way of addressing the right approach. The vision of them is making uh, the development ecosystem flexible and cutting edge and loose coupled. So all this thing they are making sure that we are introducing a highly standard way of approaching any library, and to be picked up Tanstack as an inspiration to any another development ecosystem and the library. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I can't see. Uh, I will try to address some common question that which everybody start keep asking about it. That how much time it takes to start a new project and make it as a part of application. So more or like if you have 9 to 10 data models where you have any existing application already running, and it's just in a phase of MVP, and you are just trying things out, and if you want to introduce now from the scratch React Query, then it won't take more than more than 24 to 48 days 48 hours to integrate it and well tested it. You just have to make sure a couple of hooks are already there, and you are just utilizing it. And then extensively, once you start reading the documentation, you can take care of it. There was one more thing that how well does it take more bundling time. So V5 also has its own upgradation. They were also working with Vite.js, the compiling tool, and they are sponsoring them, and in parallel they have introduced a faster compilation system. So just because of introducing a React Query into your project, will it affect the latest one? If you're introducing, I won't see, uh, but yeah, uh, should be okay. That's it. If you have more question, just paste it into the comment. I will try to address it. Thank you so much. Bye bye.